Hello everyone, recently I told you about what happened to the Sprunki in phases 3 and 4. We all know that there are only 2 phases in the official game. I suggested that phases 3 and 4 could be parallel realities, where the fate of many Sprunki was even harsher, and their suffering more excruciating. In this video I'll talk about phase 5, which is considered the most horrifying of all. Let's start with Veneria. In the initial phases, she became infected with a parasite that began to grow inside her body. It drained her life energy and eventually killed her. Over time, only her head remained. In the new phase, we see that the parasite has almost entirely consumed Veneria's body. We notice that at some point, many eyes appear. I believe that this parasite could be using them for attack or defense, as it wants to remain in her body forever. Next to die was Ratty. He hanged himself due to obsessive thoughts or perhaps after witnessing the deaths of his friends. I suspect Wenda may have been responsible. She told him he was worthless and should end his life. After Ratty died, Wenda stripped his skin and gouged out his eyes. In phase 5, Ratty has almost entirely lost his skin and his head has cracked. From his movements, we can tell that he has completely lost his mind. Now, let's talk about Gray. Initially, he managed to survive by hiding, but he witnessed one of the murders committed by Wenda. Although they were friends, Wenda couldn't let Gray live because he saw what he wasn't supposed to see. Wenda took a stick and struck Gray on the head. He survived but was severely injured. Unfortunately, in phase 5, he has suffered even more severe injuries and has gone insane. Jevin. It has been confirmed that he's a cultist. He survived, though it's unclear if he directly harmed anyone. If you track his changes from phases 3 to 5, you'll see he's grown even darker and more mysterious. This supports that he's a cultist and likely now part of a cult. In phase 5, he's missing his eyes, which he may have sacrificed as part of a ritual offering. What happened to Wenda? We all understand that she was manipulated by Black, or Jevin, and developed a bloodthirsty nature. Judging by phase 3, she completely lost her mind and became useless to Black and Jevin. Black made a deal with someone from the Colorbox Mustard Mafia, and they killed her. In phase 5, we see that Wenda has no eyes or jaw, likely the result of Mafia torture. Orin was torn apart by Wenda. In phases 3 and 4, Orin's face was heavily damaged, as if someone had ripped it apart. It seems likely that Wenda did this with her claws. In phase 5, we see that his body has turned green, possibly because Veneria's parasite transferred to him. Orin jerks around quickly, probably due to pain. Durple. The creator confirmed that his skin is so elastic that he likely overstretched his jaw and broke the joint. Looking at phases 3 and 4, it's clear he didn't stop there and broke his neck. In phase 5, his face and body stretch significantly, and at one point he hides. Why do you think he does that? Funbot likely saw that most of his friends were in states of panic, death, or despair. He became frightened and possibly even fell into depression. In phase 3, his mouth bears a resemblance to Black's face. I think Black might have tried to influence Funbot, but it seems Funbot didn't want to turn to the dark side and preferred to shut down permanently. We can see this in phase 4. Brood faced a brutal sequence of attacks. Initially, he was bitten by Simon, which was confirmed, yet surprisingly, he felt no pain and remained alive. Simon, noticing Brood's resilience, bit him a second time, sinking his teeth into Brood's body to inflict further harm. Remarkably, Brood managed to survive even this second assault. However, by phase 5, Brood's condition drastically worsens as he is torn into small, scattered pieces, most likely at the hands of Simon and his powerful, unforgiving teeth. Garnold, on the other hand, met a grim fate at the hands of Wenda. She viciously tightened his robotic glasses to an extreme degree, causing severe pressure that shattered the lenses. As a result, his mouth and left eye suffered significant damage from both the force and the shards. Wenda then went further, cracking Garnold's skull and slashing his body, inflicting deep injuries. These relentless attacks caused a malfunction in his system, which turned his eyes an ominous red. By phase 5, his form has deteriorated substantially. His eyes are completely missing, and his body appears severely crushed and distorted. Owax endured a torturous end as well. Wenda inflicted excruciating pain by tearing off parts of his face and body, leading to severe disfigurement and even the loss of an eye. As phase 5 unfolds, his trauma becomes even more evident, with further signs of extensive injuries. The character appears to be overwhelmed with fear, visibly trembling from the enduring horror and brutality of his suffering. Sky endured a horrifying death at the hands of Wenda. Wenda pierced her body with 4 rods, inflicting severe injuries that ultimately led to her demise. However, even after Sky was clearly mortally wounded, Wenda's brutality didn't stop. She drove the rods even deeper into Sky's body. By phase 5, a new shift occurs with Black taking control of Sky. She now possesses a single large eye, a dark and ominous feature reminiscent of the eyes often seen in the sky, which gives her a demonic, unsettling appearance. Moving on to Mr. Sun, I previously suspected that Black might have corrupted him and possibly coerced him into becoming an accomplice. However, after closely examining phases 3, 4, and 5, I can now say with certainty that Black was indeed behind this transformation. Evidence of Black's influence is undeniable. Mr. Sun's body is now covered in numerous demonic eyes, giving him an eerie, otherworldly look. The sheer presence of these eyes, dotting his form like dark symbols, makes it clear that Black's involvement has corrupted him entirely. Mr. Tree's story is equally tragic and deeply unsettling. He was initially possessed by the soul of a young girl, who used his life force while his face was forcefully pinned to a missing person poster, which inflicted a perpetual feeling of guilt upon him for her death. Over time, however, Black noticed Mr. Tree's weakened state and began planting dark, malicious thoughts in his mind. This mental torment gradually transformed him, turning his once green form into a blackened, shadowed figure. The missing person poster eventually vanished, symbolizing that any semblance of goodness had been erased from him, and the guilt he once felt faded away. By Phase 5, Mr. Tree's allegiance to Black is apparent. His body, now covered in the same demonic eyes seen on others, exudes a haunting presence, and even his sounds have grown more ominous, further confirming his descent into darkness. Simon felt an intense hunger and tried to resist, but the desire became too strong and completely overtook him. In Phase 3, we see someone in his mouth. It seems he had eaten someone and couldn't swallow them, but in Phase 4, he managed to do so. In Phase 5, he has grown larger and his sound is very cheerful. I think he's happy devouring other Sprunki. Tunner was shot by Wenda, then shot at least twice more and tortured. Look at the green tape on his mouth. It seems they taped it shut so other Sprunki wouldn't hear his screams. In Phase 5, we see severe injuries and a fractured skull. His music sounds as though he's crying for help. Mr. Fun Computer knows too much. He survived, but probably saw something terrifying and wants to tell us about it. After a while, Black tracked him down and broke him completely to keep us from learning the truth. In Phase 5, we see the screen separating from the character, revealing a face. Black may have taken over Mr. Fun Computer's body. Pinky. She's very kind and likely knew something she wasn't supposed to know. Wenda or Black probably threatened her, flayed her face, and then killed her out of fear she might expose them. In Phase 5, we can see extensive injuries on her head, with no ears and one eye missing. What happened to Kluker? He's passionate about construction, and his death was simply an accident while building something in their city. I think something heavy might have fallen on him, fracturing his skull and flattening his head into a thin plate. In Phase 5, the impact was so severe that his eyes fell into his mouth. I've now told you about all of the Sprunki. Do you think a parallel reality could exist in this game? Share your thoughts in the comments.